Now we're moving into the next section of this chapter on energy and the body. So remember, each chapter is divided into two sections. The first section covers the physics principles, and then the second section covers the application of those principles to the human body and human performance. And in this section, we'll see how we approach the consumption and the use of energy by the human body. But one of our governing principles as we talk about this is that energy is conserved. So our governing principle is going to be the conservation of energy. And we're also assuming then that we have a closed system. Remember we talked about closed systems, that a closed system, there's no energy going into or out of the system. So we have to account then for the energy that comes into the body, that leaves and enters the system. So also when you do work, remember work is a force times a displacement. That's our physics definition of work. When you do work, you consume energy, or you exert. Let's not say consume, let's say that we exert energy, or we use up energy. And so this is the work energy theorem. That is, if I do work, I cause some change in energy. So if my body does work, then I'll need to have energy, and we'll use that energy in the form of food. So we'll talk about food calories. Also, the body can use energy for macro purposes, and this would be like exercise and activities. We'll just say exercise, but really any sort of physical activity. And then also micro purposes. And here we'll introduce the idea of the basal metabolic rate, that your body just needs some energy to function. Food is the primary source of energy, and it can be stored for short-term glycogen in the form of glycogen, or for long-term, which is in the form of fat. The unit of energy for food is the calorie. This is a capital C. We'll talk about how that's different. A calorie is the amount of energy, so lowercase c, calorie, is the amount of energy required to raise the temperature of 1 milliliter of water by 1 degree Celsius. So that's why the specific heat of water is, by the way, 1 calorie per gram per degree Celsius. In fact, also 1 milliliter is equivalent to 1 gram of H2O. Water used to be one of our standards, that it was our standard for energy and it was a standard for mass. So that's why you often see these constants regarding water to be 1 or some factor of 10. Food calorie is equivalent to 1 kilocalorie. So we call this a calorie. It's equivalent to 1,000 physics calories, we'll say. There are 3 food sources of energy. Those include carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. Lipids is just a fancy way to say fat, and then proteins. These each have an energy density, and the energy densities are the same for carbohydrates and proteins. They have about 4 kilocalories per gram, but a lot more for fat, as you might expect. So there are 9 kilocalories per gram for fats. These are called nutrients. These 3 things are called nutrients. Other nutrients include vitamins, minerals, and water. And that would round out all the nutrients. Vitamins and minerals. And then water is another nutrient that your body needs. Energy from carbohydrates is delivered most quickly to the body, and then from lipids most slowly. That's why athletes sometimes the day before a big event, they'll load up on carbs because it provides a lot of fast release energy. Nutritionists recommend a diet of 50 to 60% carbs. I think this is still relevant, although, there are different kinds of diets out there and different recommendations that people take. But typically 50 to 60% carbs, 20 to 30% fats, and 15 to 20% proteins. You can get these types of energy from different types of foods, so carbs or carbohydrates. You can get from bread, pasta, potatoes, rice. Your lipids are oils, fats, and then proteins. You can get from eggs, meat, fish, beans, tofu. So primarily animal products, but also vegetable products as well. Okay, I have a video I want you to watch about the football training camp and just the types of foods that they eat. It's very important, especially if you're an athlete, or really if you're a human being, that you eat healthy food because your body needs those to function properly.